There it is. Smoking.
It's smoking.
I love that song. That's Boston. That's from Don't Look Back, pretty sure. I think that's it. Is it from their second album or first album? I don't remember which album.
Let's see, yeah.
But that's a good one, smoking. And that's what we're trying to do, is help businesses go from broken to smoking. And we've got a little tool we're going to talk about today. We've been talking about in the last few episodes about delegating and the problems or the challenges or the inabilities or abilities, I suppose, to delegate well as a manager. And we created from some of our workshopping around the word delegate or to delegate or one who delegates does what, And one of the things that's come out of these various exercises is what I'm going to call a cheat sheet around delegating. As a manager who delegates, we're going to go over this nice little cheat sheet that you can use to remember to do some certain things. Remember to check some boxes. Remember to nail a few things as you delegate. Now, this is really more for significant projects. You're not going to use this thing 6 times a day or something.
Right.
This isn't if you're delegating, a few odds and ends to folks here and there. This is more around the lines of, big projects, bigger kind of important projects that are more significant. So now, before we dig into this, if you need help figuring this stuff out, call us. There. Now, so this is for the manager. So keep in mind that what we're going to give you here, talk about here, is this checklist. And we've got this broken down into what, 9 or 10? 1, 2, 3. I think we have 10 or so. Little hacks.
It is 10. I didn't count it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So this checklist is for the manager. It's for the person who is doing the delegating.
The delegator.
The delegator. There it is.
Let's say it.
So that's the first little tip as we go down through this. Remember, this is for you if you delegate. Second is this hack, if you will, or cheat sheet, is meant to keep you focused as a manager on some of the more important realities, some of the bigger picture stuff that gets missed. It's to help you stay dialed in on what it is you're doing here as a manager. Third little tip is you can take this, you ought to take these and jot them down, these tips that are coming up here, these hacks, on a note card. Now we've got a tool, we've got this kind of prettied up, and you can print this off and download it and all that stuff if you want, right? Where is that? We're going to have it.
It's going to be on our website, so I'll have a link to it.
So you can just punch in delegate tool. There'll be a link in the notes and all that. All right, so write it down, though, into your own kind of process. Another tip is before you sit down and use this checklist, you're going to want to do a little pre-gaming. So let's set this up. So let's say you're a manager and you've got somebody that you're going to delegate a big project to, and this is going to be a 3-month project. Let's say it's a rock of some sort. And before you sit down and say, hey, Sven, here's this rock I need you to get done the next quarter, take some time to pre-game this thing or to think through it a little bit and write down some of your thoughts around this checklist. Okay, so you can sit down and just go through the checklist in real time. It's meant to be helpful in that way. But do some pre-gaming. All right, and this will make sense in a minute. Also, kind of lastly, is you're going to need jotted down some of the macro strategy of the business, some of the macro truths, core values, core focus, the sorts of things you're aiming at, where we're going, how, some of our big initiatives, big truths, big ideas about this particular client or this particular process or whatever, some of the big stuff, you're going to want to have that kind of in your back pocket, so to speak, when you pregame this little deal. So that being said, we've got this checklist, and I'm just going to run down through them, and then I'll go back and kind of fill in the gaps here a little bit. And keeping in mind that you should be looking at this when you're getting ready to, or as you're delegating, just to remind you to do a good job. Okay, so the first one, remember the spirit of the core values. The second is, and these are questions, are you remembering the spirit of the core values? Question, or don't forget to remember. Second, are you doing this with purpose, or is there purpose to this delegation besides just something I don't want to do? You know, is there a bigger purpose? Is it on purpose? Is it intentional? That's kind of on purpose. Time frame. Is there a clear time frame? End result. Is that clear? What we need for an end result? Is it tied to macro strategy? Another check box. Are the resources dispatched? So have you given them what they need? What's at stake as far as what is going to be, who's going to own these results? What are the real truths if we nail this thing, and real truths if we don't? Next, prioritized, as in where is this in the person's priority stack? And then lastly, restate or read back, state back or feedback from the person you're delegating to, get them to feedback to you. So point number one on the checklist is remember the spirit of the core values. So as you're sitting down with your direct report, be able to talk about and think about, hey, listen, we have a code of ethics here. We have a code of how we think, act, behave, treat each other, the truth to our culture. And as you're delegating a major project to someone, do it through that spirit of those values, and use the values as a reminder, or as, hey, this is who we are around here. This isn't optional stuff. This is the code to our culture. Don't forget that. So to take some time, and this gives you the chance right here as a manager to reinforce the values of the organization. The next box here is with purpose, and the third is on purpose, and these kind of go together. As in, all right, so is this delegation, or this task that is being delegated, make sure that it has clear purpose to it, that it has a clear intentionality, that it is not vague, that it's not general, that it's not squashy. There's got to be some really good truth to why this thing matters. We'll get into a little bit more of that later here too, but it's purposeful, okay? Not just busy work. It's not just, turning the crank so that we can, just look productive. The next box, time frame. A lot of times when folks delegate, they don't give really good, clear parameters around, all right, we need this done here for this reason at this point, and here's that time frame. So question you want to be asking yourself, do I have a clear time frame? Have I given them a clear time frame? I see this often and with leadership teams, even at that level, even where they have a really hard time taking seriously the finish line. Where they'll get most of the way there, or they'll feel like the finish line is optional, or they'll just kind of, well, these other things came into play, and I decided, not to get that done, or I just decided it wasn't important. They're making decisions to change what we all decided to do as a leadership team, and this checkbox time frame is, it needs to not be, I'm going to use the word malleable. It needs to not be optional. You know, it's
Yeah.
got to be,
Yeah.
there's got to be a hard end date. And if there isn't a hard end date, well, then it won't end. You know, it actually won't. It's like saying to your kid, like, hey, someday, can you clean your room? Can you just kind of sometime take care of this? And the kid's like, sure. You know, and then never, which is some days like never. It's a code for like no.
What's that rule for the time? Like
The
time yeah.
Parkinson's law.
Thank you.
Yes,
I couldn't
yes,
remember
yes.
what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a great example. Parkinson's law. I believe it's the about the expansion of gas to
Yeah.
will fill in whatever vacuum or whatever space.
Kind of
is
applies
available.
to time, though.
Yeah. There's a great, in Profit First, in the book Profit First, you know, Mike Michalowicz makes this point that the Parkinson's law applies to budgeting, where if we give something parameters around, hey, let's create a budget where we have $10,000 for this thing,
That's what you're going to spend.
we'll spend $10,000.
Right.
That's right. But if you make it 5, well, then we'll spend 5. You know, so you have to create, and it may feel arbitrary, but arbitrary is better than nothing. You know, so we want to have a clear time frame. This needs done by this point. Now, again, this is the manager looking at these cheat sheet kind of points, reminding themselves as they're going down through and talking to the direct report, saying, listen, I want to make sure I'm giving you a clear time frame. Here it is. Okay, next checkbox. Hey, manager, are the end results clear? So take the task and make sure that you're putting very specific, not just here's the 14 things I need you to get done, but here are the results of what these 14 things are going to do. And that's really a little different from just a list of 14 tasks or something. A lot of times, again, with rocks, and I'm going to keep coming back to rocks. Rocks are a great example of delegating. So I'm sitting with a leadership team, and the rock will be finished. I'll say, okay, Sven, did you get your rock done? Yes, I did. And I'll ask them often. And I can kind of, I don't know, I'm looking them in the eye and kind of going, I don't think this meant as much to them as we meant it to.
Right.
You know? And so I'll say, hey, so what did that rock, that project that you finished, what did it do? What did it accomplish? What were the results of getting that rock done? And a lot of times they can't answer that. You know, they kind of are like, oh, I don't know, just, I don't remember. That often is.
That's a big one,
is
actually.
part of it. Yeah.
I forgot that was on my list.
Yeah, and so that kind of goes to the manager above them, whomever that may be, to say, what? You didn't remember why this rock for you on the leadership team was so important? And that comes to the next one. The next bullet point here, or checkbox, is have we tied this delegating delegated task to our macro strategy? Is it clear how this task helps move the needle with where we're going, or helps move the needle with how we're going to get there, or it helps move the needle to actually get us there some, or is it just connected just generally, or is it connected overtly? And you as the manager have to make that connection. Now this is a great place to generate buy-in. A lot of times folks in our organization really want to be bought in, but we don't give them clarity as a manager. We don't give them visibility of how what they're doing impacts what we're doing as a collective. So that checkbox is really important, tied to macro strategy. All these are important. Next checkbox, are the resources dispatched? Now, this is your job as a manager to, I'm backing up here for a sec. All of these are manager no-brainers, I would say. You pick up any solid book on how to be a manager, there's going to be all kinds of truths in there about these things. So none of this is rocket science, that's for sure. Okay, so resources dispatched, which is to say, have you given them what they need to get this thing done? Maybe it's permissions. Maybe it's access to people. Maybe it is a budget. Maybe it's a few guidelines, a few kind of parameters. Maybe it's some of your ideas, or perhaps some of your connections as a manager. There may be equipment or other kind of supplies that need dispatched. And this is meant to help you as a manager speed this process up. If you don't dispatch these resources, well, guess what? 2-3 weeks down the road, they're going to get stuck. You're going to have to dispatch them then, and it's going to kill a bunch of time and spinning our wheels, that sort of thing. So have you just dispatched those resources? Now, coming back to pre-gaming a little bit, and this is one of those spots where you should have some notes on this worksheet about, all right, here's the sorts of resources I think you might need, which is the manager doing their job, the manager earning their paycheck or their what they're worth by saying, oh, what are my folks going to need when I sit down to delegate this? And this is just pre-work, right? Okay, so what's at stake? That is our next checkbox. And to be able to say, all right, there are some truths on both sides of the scenario. So scenario one, it didn't get done. Okay, well, what's at stake? There may be employment at stake. There may be, we might lose $1 million as an organization. Our reputation might go down the drain in the marketplace that we've worked so hard to achieve. We might, if this project fails, we might lose some great staff. We might lose funding. We might lose a piece of equipment. We might lose this opportunity to punch a hole in the marketplace. And you've got to be able to say, hey, and if that happens, you own that. And now as the manager owns that too. That's what delegating is. We talked about this in episode 40, that you're stewarding, when you delegate something, the person you're delegating it to is stewarding ownership. So they will own some results, and this is what this checkbox right here is for, is to make clear what results they're going to own. And then you're going to own some of those results as the manager. So you want to do a good job talking about what's at stake if this project goes really good, and if the project doesn't go the way we want it to. Okay, next checkbox is prioritized. And this is meant to say, hey, manager, have you helped your direct report see where this task belongs in their kind of order of importance? Do they understand what is kind of the level of priority this thing is? And it may be top level. It may be bottom level. I don't know. But the point is that as a manager, you want to take some time to make that clear, if it needs made clear. Okay, the last one I think it's actually one of the most overlooked out of these. And again, these are kind of natural managers, talented and effective managers do these sorts of things naturally. But this last one is restate, as in have the direct report say back to you what it is that you just said, what it is. I don't know what they call that. Feedback. There's a word. There's a clinical word for this. I don't remember what it is. It's a great tool when you're having a difficult discussion with someone to kind of go, all right, here's what I heard you say. Blah, 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 blah. And it helps to clean up, clarify, and get us all to focus on exactly what we're talking about. But have your person restate what the project's going to be. Now, sometimes in sessions, I will have clients do this where I'll say, okay, here's this rock, blah, 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 blah. Now, I want you to tell me what you think this rock is. What are you going to do? And it'll say, I don't know, make something up, marketing process 4.0. All right, Bob, Sven. Hey, Sven. Yeah.
Bobby Sven.
So what is marketing process 4.0 going to look like? Mm-hmm. Like, what do you, when we get back together in a month or quarter or 60 days or whatever that time period is, what are you going to have done? And dude, almost every time it's deer in the headlights, and they have a hard time getting their head around a project like this. And it just being able to say, well, I'm going to write up a process, I'm going to find all the right people, and I'm going to come up with a prototype, and then I'm going to try it out, and then I'm going to polish it up, and then I'm going to take it to market or whatever. That they have a hard time talking through a general process, like a general kind of outline, I would almost call it. I remember, when we were in school and having to do book reports. Mm-hmm. I hated book reports because it just was so mystifying to me. Like, what? I didn't even know what to do. And of course, the teacher is going outline, and I didn't get it. I just did not get how to do that. But this is really what we're talking about here: is having a pretty simple outline of here's how the project ought to go. And in this restating, I think is a great point to have the person lay out some, I call them milestones, or you could say, hey, this project, this substantive project, well, could we break this into 3 or 4 phases? What would that look like? So phase 1 might be, well, I'm gonna take some time. I'm gonna take a few meetings, or take some personal time, or some out of the office time, or some thinking time to kind of organize this project. So I guess I would call it pre-work, so that's a great step one. Step 1, think about this thing and write down a simple outline. Okay, great. With anybody who may have good ideas about it. So you gather together some good folks, get off site for half a day, and jot down, here's how we're going to tackle this. Pre-game, pre-strategy, strategize, perhaps. Okay, step 1, cool. Step 2 might be, all right, now we're going to rough draft this thing, or we're going to gather all of our resources and roughly assemble. And then step 3 might be fine tune. And then step 4 might be test drive, and then step 5 might be green light. Mm-hmm. Super simple. Mm-hmm. But in this restating, if you can help your direct report to kind of like talk it back to you, and talk it back in the format of here's the various stages I'm going to go through, and help them figure that out. As a manager, that's really your job, is to be good at, or get good at, spelling out how to get something done without doing it yourself, without hand-holding and all that, as some of those terms we talked about. Mm-hmm. So there you go. That is just a super simple delegating cheat sheet. So if you want, download this thing and put it in your back pocket. I think it'd be great to put this in your kind of personal playbook as a manager, if you or your tool locker, if you will. If you have a journal, or a place where you keep this stuff, this is a great thing to park in there and to practice it, practice it a bunch. So there we go. Episode 042, just talking a little bit more about delegating. And in order to get good at, in order to take your business from broken to smoking. Yeah. Unless you're I got an ice cream shop and you're a street vendor, right? And you're just like a one-man show, chucking a truck, I call it. Yeah. Right? Okay, you don't have to delegate anything, but man, you better get good at this if you want to grow. Yeah. So there you go. A little more on delegating. 042. In the can, Boston taking us out.
That's how you do it, solo.
I love that.